Hey everybody, welcome back. Psych here. Jumping right back into another Acid Archive series. Yes. Continuing on with the thread that started a year ago now? I think it was March of last year. Dom at Seeking a Thread started this. And of course, given that this is kind of my area of expertise, I can't say no to this thread. It's just kind of a fun way to kind of highlight some records and talk about one of the most important guidebooks out there as far as concerning the American private press, merging into psychedelia, and just special interest records, I guess you could say. And this is one such case where I'm kind of surprised I hadn't highlighted this record yet, as it's kind of one of the more quintessential ones as far as the Acid Archives is concerned. It's a blending of both worlds. It's a private press. Apparently, according to the artist himself, 60 copies were only pressed of this, so uber rare. It should probably rank as number 5 rarity in the book because it's that rare. But I've seen some people pick up on this at like some record shows in years past. They got some deep pockets. Well, anyways, we're talking about the album Kath 1. And sometimes I think it mistakenly gets put under the name Kath as well. But I think at this point they were known as Badge. This came out in 1974. This is a Rockadelic pressing from 2005. And I think that it also came out on like clear vinyl or something. This is the black vinyl copy. There had been some talk about being reissued like last year, but nothing's come up yet with Lion Productions. So Lion Productions, they released a CD. It's like a 2 CD deal with the original vinyl track listing plus all the bonus material that was recorded later on. And 2 CDs worth. So you're only getting like somewhat of a patchwork of the original minus 1 track on here, and then a couple bonus cuts. Well, one of the singles that came out in '78. 4 years after this LP, and then another bonus cut that was just kind of archived away as the opening track on here, Love Me Down. And you can definitely tell which tracks are new and which ones were recorded at different times, because as you listen through this, you'll be able to tell that some of the fidelity's a little hot in spots compared to others, needing some adjustments on the bass and treble. And considering this was all engineered by pretty much one guy here, Val Rogolino, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He's based out of Maryland, kind of a small town in Maryland. I have to look at the insert here. I think it shows the exact town. He was a student at Fagler College. Odington, Maryland. Not sure where that's at on the map, but Maryland, it's kind of a small state, right? East Coast based, and got some little inserts here from the Rockadelic. A little info about the recording when it started. It basically spanned all across 1974. It started in March 31st. It's almost March 31st here. And recording ended on September of that year. So they took a lot of time, took a lot of patience mapping this whole thing out. And apparently 312 hours and 16 minutes of recording time put on tape. Val Rogolino, he did the drums, tambourine, organ, all the vocals, kazoo, clapping, maracas, whistling, magnet bongos, or magnet and bongos. And then you have a guy called Cheese Solers. I think Cheese is his nickname. I'd feel bad for him if it was his real name. Lead and rhythm guitar. Bruce Lapierre does the bass and clapping. Brent Buckley does lead guitar, organ, sax, bass guitar. And then Bob on trumpet. Yeah, there's a little bit of brass on here, but it's so meshed with everything else that you barely recognize it as it rolls along. But here's a few photographs there during their set. And this was all recorded in his home studio, so I imagine maybe it was in the basement. And speaking of calling it a basement, this is what I would consider put under the subgenre basement psych. I mean, this thing is so drenched, and it's like, it's got this dampness production to it. You know, it's almost as damp as a basement when you listen to this. Like the room, the whole space that they're recording in is just very, you can kind of tell the padding on the wall is a little off, and that's kind of the whole charm about this record. So yeah, just got some illustrations there. I imagine that's Val there on the drums, front and back here. So yeah, Kath 1. I forget where that name comes from, but they were known as the Brotherhood, the Serfs, and then Badge. I think they eventually stuck with Badge at the beginning of, like, you know, the early 70s, because they had been recording for like 5 years or so, leading into the 60s and into the 70s. But, you know, considering it's from 74, you could probably not tell the difference that you would think this was recorded around 68, 69, considering just behind the times they were a little bit stylistically. But yeah, it looks just about like the original does. I think it's a red tint instead of purple on the cover there. And then the label variation too. I don't think it was a orange label. I think it was just kind of a plain white label. But as you can tell, very homemade. This is the only way I can look at the track listing too. So opens up with a track called Love Me Down. It's got this really kind of ramped up organ break going on. You got these echoey, delayed vocals, and very frantic fuzz guitar on that one too. Leading up into the next track, I Want to Love You. You can tell that's from the original vinyl itself. Do some moodier tracks, Goodbye Sunshine. Lonely Again, get some nice, again, kind of ramped up energy, some tambourine on that track. Yeah, very Beatles-esque. You know, that's often the case with a lot of these records. You know, they're very inspired by the Beatles, a lot of these groups. And he definitely has this kind of English approach in the vocals. Very Lazy Smoke heavy, you could say. And then the other track here on side 1, As I Looked, that's a big standout on this one. And it wasn't on the original album, but I'm really glad it's featured on here. It's I think it was recorded in 77, 78, around there. Released on 45 single. And it's got this very, like, kind of sun-drenched sort of bedroom pop kind of thing going on. Yeah, I really like it. It's got some sax in there too, which is kind of a weird little thing they throw in there. But man, it's got some nice aesthetic leads, kind of a nice kind of drifting kind of track. And then on the flip side, and I should say all throughout, you get these little snippets of, just these audio snippets of them kind of rehearsing a little bit. You got them saying these, like, I don't know if it's like a running gag. They keep going like, bullshit. Bullshit. I don't know what that's about. And they're doing that while they're rehearsing. So I imagine those are like some overdubs. And they're doing these kind of panning effects too while that's going on. They do a cover of Norwegian Wood. Got some very tasty aesthetic fuzz leads on there. Instead of the sitar, it's like fuzz guitar on there. And then, I don't know what the meaning behind this track is, number 4. BLPSVC. That's definitely a highlight on here too, the 4th track. Strange title for a song, but definitely one of the more dreamier, kind of psych pop driven tracks. Again, very, you can definitely feel the Beatles influence rubbing off on this, on Val here. And yeah, and then again, kind of just closing with some, I wouldn't say filler, but kind of like somewhat in a similar style that what we've heard before. I think he was also inspired like by some 50s rock at the time, so you got some kind of, like, you could say power pop moves for its time. But considering they're kind of going for that kind of 50s style, but it kind of translates into something else. So yeah, man. And I should say too, one of the snippets on here, I guess it's just a cast of characters, Val's friends, they're just capturing what he's all doing in the bathroom. I mean, I think he's like brushing his teeth, and then he's shaving, and you get these really close-up microphone sounds. Maybe he's like holding the mic and a razor in one hand. That's what it comes off as, because it's like really up close and a little personal. So that's the true essence of private press, man. If you don't have a toilet flushing on your private press record, you're doing it wrong. So yeah, you could almost categorize it into that kind of real people field, but more or less, this is like a musical expedition done very primitively and done well. I would consider this maybe a 4.5, almost 5-star record concerning the Acid Archive type titles. This is one that does get a little slept on by some people, some of the common people out there. I wouldn't throw myself into that thing. That's kind of why I go down these rabbit holes. This is one that I've had for like 10 years or so now. And I hadn't heard this in a while, so I just listened to it tonight. Had to get a little refresh, and I thought, man, I got to make a Acid Archive video on this. This is just how much I love it, man. So yeah, I think that's about it. There's probably a little information I'm missing out on. But yeah, it looks like you got a little news article here in the paper. I'll get that up close so you can read it, hopefully. Hopefully it's turning it up and you can pause it. So yeah, it was recorded in his own home studio, Odenton, Maryland. Did all the editing, the general engineering, and you can definitely tell it's very amateurish, but like I said, man, that's kind of, those are always some fun results coming out of that. And yeah, he says it's a mixture of the Beatles, the Beach Boys, the Kinks, and the 50s. But it absolutely sounds nothing like that. And I was thinking of that term earlier. What's that new term? That Morgan Delt artist. If you guys know that guy, back like 10 years ago, he released a couple albums. What's that genre called? Hypnagogic pop? This is like that genre, only done 50 years ago. So, way ahead of the time, accidentally, you could say. So, and I think Val has actually commented on some of my videos, maybe some of the audio clips that I've uploaded on YouTube years back on my other channel. I think he's commented before, so he's definitely out there, and he's definitely seen the appraisal from, fans like me from this, showing this off, so could definitely use another reissue. I mean, it's been 20 years now since Rich Hopt got this resurrected, so yeah, Kath 1, 1974, presumably by the band Badge. And let's give the Acid Archive a little read. I think it's done by Patrick Lemborg too. Yeah, I just bookmarked that. I hadn't read it yet, but let's see. Well, it says 1975 here. Maybe it was like late 74, early 75 got released. 60 copies pressed, and it was a gatefold apparently. The 4 rarity, and then you just have the Rockadelic pressing on here, plus bonus tracks, no gatefold. 500 copies pressed of the Rockadelic, so it's gotten kind of scarce itself. So we've got a photograph here I'll share at the end, but he says, obscure and quite impressive melodic garage psych pop with a lo-fi atmosphere that would have most private press fans flip out. It hits the Ampex 2-track echo and tinny drum sound dead on. The sound is a bit Canadian with French language snips and maple leaf elements, like lots of keyboard and reverberated vocals, not unlike the best tracks on Rockadrome. It's mostly originals with a few covers, including a fuzzed up cough syrup take on Norwegian Wood. That could be the best version ever. The self-penned material is good, with a 60s teen beat sensibility rather than heavy or hard rock. I would say that's very spot on. At times the vibe is almost like Mystery Meat or Index, and that's not something you run across every day, and that's for sure. especially not on albums recorded in 1974. Good fuzz throughout, charming amateur vocals, and a late night rehearsal space ambience. That is spot on. With snips of aural experiments for the right $15 avant-garde touch. The main guy, Val Rogolino, also had 2 EPs under the name Badge, with alternate versions of a few album tracks, as well as a 45. The Rockadelic reissue doesn't capture the full couple unreleased tunes, doesn't capture the full atmosphere of the original, but adds a couple unreleased tunes, omitting 1 track from the original. So yeah, basically covered that as well. So I'll try to get this photograph of Val there, if you can see it. Sorry if it's not coming in. There you go. He's a drummer at heart. Good vocals too. I'd say they land pretty well. He's kind of got the same range, but you know, when it's kind of more of your passion project more than you know, distributing it nationwide, it kind of comes off that way. But he made a hell of a recording here nonetheless. So with the help of friends, it's, you know, very much in that kind of same space or the same kind of backstory as, say, you know, Tom Neal's. That's the record I covered earlier. I think it was the 3rd one in the series we've done so far. And then that Damon that kind of space as well kind of shares with that. So if you like your lo-fi, garage psych pop kind of stuff with some, you know, sizzling fuzz, this is definitely up your alley, I'd say. So you're going to definitely find some good tunes in here. Again, let's highlight some tracks. Say the top 3 maybe for me. As I Looked, sort of the post Kath 1 track. And I would also say, what was the other one? BLP SVC. And then, let's see. And then maybe the first track too, Love Me Down. So the non-album tracks are the highlights. The non-original tracks, I should say. But yeah, if you can pick up this Rockadelic press, hunt it down, man. This is definitely one to check into. I haven't read much else into the Lion Productions reissue in this one, so it's kind of up in the air right now. So yeah, number 36 is down. So again, got some themes working behind the scenes that I'm you know, jotting notes down for, and kind of revisiting some records before I share any more of my recent arrivals this year. So I'm really enjoying spinning records right now on my new equipment. So anyways, take care. Check out Kath 1 by Badge or Val Rogolino. Acid Archive continues. Stay tuned.